Okie dokie.
So today we're going to talk about resources.
Yes, homeschool resources.
Educational resources.
Yes.
You're welcome to use these even if you're not homeschooling.
Exactly, yes. Some of mine are older than dirt
That's fair.
because I've been around for a whole minute.
That's fair. And some of them are going to be free,
Yes.
and some of them are going to be something you might have to pay for.
Pay for.
There are a collection of free resources in our shorts.
Yes.
I went through and kind of just showed the layout of several different websites that are some of my favorite resources.
And we're
And we're
going
going
to
to link those.
Yeah, we're going to link back to those. So I'll start. I think we'll just take turns.
Go for it.
This homeschool resource costs about $20 a month for kids in elementary. It is a homeschool curriculum online, and I think it costs more for the high school. However, I recommend that you stop at 4th grade, and I'll tell you why in a minute. It is called Time for Learning, number 4, Time for Learning, and my kids revolted once we got past 4th grade because it's very animation centric, and at that point they were feeling pandered to.
That's fair.
However, our first year of homeschooling, Jordan started at the beginning of 2nd grade, and she was done by Christmas. And then she was done with 3rd grade by June. And so for young kids, especially coming out of public school, when you're used to working at that pace, it's a really good way to accelerate and get all the basics in.
That's
so
fair.
I love it. I know the guy. He's kind of cool.
That's fair.
Do you have one?
Well, see, I don't know what all yours
Okay.
are. And so, yes, I have several resources that I like, but I don't know that any that fit kind of with Time for Learning.
Okay.
There was... No, let me go get my
I
phone.
was about to say, we need to do that again.
He's like, I don't need my stinking phone.
I did. Well, because
They're in my
I
head.
just thought of a platform.
They're in my head.
So similarly,
Mhm.
again, heavily animated, highly gamified,
Mhm.
something that worked for my youngest child, again, for really elementary school, it kind of taps out at 13, is something called Adventure Academy.
Okay.
And I kind of feel like it's the evolution. It's a very gamified platform. It covers math, science, writing, reading, all those things. We did have success with it. It was similarly priced, I think, to Time for Learning.
I mean, the price is amazing.
Right. It's reasonable, but it's a monthly subscription fee. It was something that my child enjoyed.
He got to a
Through.
point when he was like, I'm kind of done with this.
Right. And that's the thing, is it's geared up to age 13. Once basically all of the quests are completed and you've kind of gone through you've basically done the playthrough for the game, that's kind of when kids tap out on it.
So I'm going to jump to the other end of the homeschool journey. And, well, I was gonna, but then I crossed it out.
Oh boy.
Have fun editing.
Yeah.
Another one of my favorites is Crash Course videos. I giggle a little bit when I say Crash Course videos because they do a really good job explaining the sciences. They do a really good job of explaining history. But some of their older videos, and they've been doing this for about 10 to 12 years, are a little mature. They were adults teaching history to mostly, at that point, I think, AP.
It was really largely geared toward college students.
Yeah.
It was largely geared toward college students at first.
And so now that they've brought
the
it down to
educational
middle school,
yes.
so you, as parents,
Just preview the video.
the videos before you show them to the kids, but they just have a really good way of explaining concepts in a way that kids get it. So I actually love Crash Course videos. There's a reason we make history videos, and that's because we can't show the Crash Course videos to all of our students. So there's that.
No, I'm still trying to figure out what that next one is.
Do you want me to read it?
Sure.
Okay, so that says Openstax.
Got it.
STAX.
Got it.
It is a full textbooks online.
Interesting.
The full free textbook online. Now, as you're scrolling through the textbook, going from chapter to chapter, it says, hey, you want to pay to have this printed and sent to you?
Right.
So, there's that. But math, science, social studies, and history, psychology, sociology, computer science, all of it, if you want to take a textbook approach.
Generally speaking, are they high school textbooks? Are they college textbooks?
These are high school to college.
Got it.
Textbooks. So these are for the more mature student.
Right.
And honestly, for me, when my kids got to high school level, I wanted to make sure that they were using a curriculum that the colleges were going to accept.
Right.
And so I geared toward a public school type of textbook. I supplemented with whatever I was going to supplement with. However, the textbooks were our basis.
So in talking
Homeschooling.
about high school homeschooling, I also have sort of pushed the kids more toward the college content than not, because you can. And to that end, the reason that I was looking at your page so intently is I was thinking the MIT Open Courseware.
It's in here.
Okay. Because, so a number of universities, many of them Ivy League, got together and decided that they needed to provide their courses to anybody that wants to learn. And so you can go search the database for these different classes that are being taught at the universities and kind of self-pace yourself through it. Depending on the class, some classes have better resources than others, but a lot of times at the very least you can find out what textbook they used, how they went through the material, because you'll see it on a syllabus, and kind of reverse engineer what might work for your student from that.
So I'm going to go ahead and double down on that.
Go for it.
Because it's MIT Open Courseware. It's ocw.mit.edu.
Right.
You can also just Google Open Courseware because you're going to get Yale.
Yep.
Open Courseware as well, and then there's this huge Open Courseware repository.
Right.
And so they're college level courses for your advanced homeschool students.
Right.
Online lectures, they tell you what course materials to buy, they suggest books. They have basically made their work free to the public, and they've released them to Creative Commons.
Right. So they're Creative Commons licensed.
So you can retain, use, adapt their materials. My favorite course that I did with my kids is kitchen chemistry. It was just so easy to follow, and it made chemistry so relevant. Normally when you take a college class, it's less broad than, not a college class, when you take a high school course, it's so much less broad. It's kind of like an overview.
More broad.
That word. It's more broad. You get an overview of the science specifically. But when you do a college science, it's more zoomed in. And I feel like it holds their attention better.
It can.
Especially when there's a specific area of science that they are interested in.
Right.
You can zoom in on that area of science, and the colleges love it. If you put on the transcript, because I know I put kitchen chemistry, MIT, and they were like, that's a chemistry course, and we did the cooking, we had the lab sheets.
Right.
So,
and if you're going to do chemistry labs in your kitchen, it should be edible.
We should be able to eat it,
So, and to that end, especially kind of gearing students more toward more advanced material as they're ready for that, a subscription service that I enjoy greatly, my children don't love quite as much, is Wondrium. Used to be Great Courses Plus.
It's a little boring. I don't like it.
It depends on the class. It all depends on the class. And you can read the reviews. Some of
the camera angles are wild.
Camera angles can be wild.
Because the
guy's
really walking around talking and then cut to a new camera. And I'm like, snore. It's very staged. It's cute.
It is. The ones that I actually enjoy most are the ones that you can just listen to. And that it's not necessarily a visual component to it. So there are some that are just audio courses. And I have done plenty of times where I've been sewing or doing something else, and we'll have that on and listening to it because I find that podcasts.
That's really cool to listen to with your kids.
Yeah. Absolutely. And podcasts and anything that doesn't necessarily have a visual component, something that you sit there and we'll have on, and we'll all be listening to it together, and we'll all be learning together. And so we've done some of the courses that way.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, in homeschooling, if you don't know something, find someone who does.
Right.
And if it can be a course that you can listen to online together and then discuss, and then maybe the kid can do some more research.
Right.
Like that's just
and
a really good way to tackle.
The other nice thing about Wondrium, you have your courses, and again, some of them, my child's shooting daggers at me right now because I'm trying to get him through one, and there's like 48 lectures in it. Most of them only have like 12 or 16 lectures. Those are a little more manageable. Maybe don't find the really, really long ones that they have to sit through every one of the lectures. But they have course material with it. So you can download PDF packages that will include additional information. It gives you links to books that you can read along with the lectures. It asks questions that you can use as review questions, so you don't have to go back and reinvent all of that. So you can get that kind of, you have that kind of support through their platform.
Yes. Okay. Back to elementary, PK through 8th grade. Sheppard, Sheppard software has vocabulary games as well as worksheets, and they've expanded beyond just vocabulary. But it's just a lot of gamifying of homeschool subjects, and it is free. So Sheppard, Sheppard software, and I think they have workbooks. Sounds really familiar. Okay.
Your favorite thing.
My favorite thing
ever. Your favorite thing ever.
Okay. So marriage.
Marriage.
Marriage. Marriage is what brings us together today.
Merit badge workbooks. They're available. Just Google merit badge guides. And it's primarily Boy Scouts. You can get Girl Scouts as well. But the thing is, these things are in depth. And if you combine 3 to 4 of these badges, you end up with a full course.
Yep.
I learned this doing a Eagle Scouts homeschool portfolio. He's pretty much unschooled, but the colleges were really impressed because he had all the work to show for it. And we just took all the badges, all his little badge books, and I'm like, just bring them over, and we put them on my dining room table, and then we sorted them.
Yep.
These go together, these go together, these go together. And I'm like, well, that's a whole course, and that's a whole course. And we just had all this work to show for it. We'd take tons of pictures, and fold it into a book. But my favorite grouping is for citizenship. There's citizenship in society.
So it's your government class, your government credit.
Yeah, it's citizenship in society, citizenship in community, citizenship in the nation, and citizenship in the world.
Right.
That's 4 different badges.
Is it 4?
It's 4. 1, 2,
Interesting.
3, 4. Yes, I just looked it up.
Oh.
I double checked.
It used to be society and community were 1. It used to be 3.
Yeah, it was 3 when he did it. It's 4 now. But that is an entire science. There's so many combinations. I remember us doing phys ed, and it was like swimming, like life saving, and then like stuff like that. We did like some white water. Like it was just so varied and so full. Just for example, you can do the astronomy badge, the chemistry badge, the environmental science badge, and maybe the nuclear science badge, and then basically that's kind of like a general science badge. There's astronomy, there's geology, there's name it.
Right.
There's bugs, there's animals, there's just go ham. You're gonna have so much fun. Oh, usscouts.org/MB.
usscouts.org.
That usscouts.org/MB. Worksheets list ASP.
We'll put the link in the.
So yes, that's an absolute favorite of mine. I've only got 1 more. What you got? No, 2 more. What you got?
See, most of my resources kind of don't necessarily fit this whole package.
Your resources are kind of more for the parents who are teaching.
One of my favorite is museums. If you happen to live someplace where there are local museums, those are always great resources. A lot of them have educational programs. To that end, online resources, my favorite website is the one that is operated by the Metmuseum in New York. Metmuseum.org. There's amazing visual references for everything that's in their collection. Some things you can't blow up bigger because they don't have the rights to it, or it's too new and so it's still under copyright. But a lot of things you can see huge images of, zoom into details, but there also is an entire collection on their website of different publications that they've released over time. So you can do a whole deep dive into really specific time periods for art, and you can get links to these different publications that they've released over the years and download a PDF of it. So you can read through, each of the different types of exhibits that they've had. A lot of those have books that go along with them. In addition to that, there's the Haliburton Timeline of Art History, and it has a lot of historical information that's kind of you dive down into different topics, different time periods, different regions, things like that.
So that sounds like a great resource for images and for research.
Images, research, it can be used to build an art class, like an art history class, or even just for your regular history. Like as you're studying history, you can go find paintings and things from the time period that are illustrating more of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of my favorite. And kind of in that same vein, there's the Dave Rumsey map collection. And that's another one that we have a video to that we'll link down there, and I'll walk you through all the different things. You can find historical maps of all kinds, from very specific to large global maps, and you can kind of just dig in there, and the artwork is beautiful.
I know we've struggled to find good maps. I'm glad you finally found
right
them.
And I had forgotten about that actually.
Mhm,
when I was struggling to find good maps, I had forgotten that was a resource, because it's an amazing platform, and a lot of those are also going to be public domain, so if you want to turn around and use them, many of them can be,
which is amazing. Learner.org, learner.org. They have a lot of online courses. It's actually teacher training courses. As a homeschool parent, you would review the course and then turn around and teach your kid. Otherwise, it'll get kind of dry. But they have one course in particular, and it's called Destinos, which is Spanish telenovelas. Yes, with the wind blowing and like the whole thing. And it teaches kind of Spanish 1 and 2. And you can buy the Destinos. We have a couple in this building. The Destinos textbook. They tell you what textbook to buy to partner with this Destinos Spanish. And that's kind of how we did Spanish 1 and 2 for the younger one.
And I think that's one of my favorite resources is Duolingo.
Well, Duolingo didn't exist.
Duolingo didn't exist at the time, but that can be a good companion to something
It
like
would
that.
be an amazing
Because
companion to
Not
Destinos.
sponsors.
Not
sponsored.
Not sponsored.
With things like Duo, you have to say that.
That's okay.
They can
That's-
sponsor me, and then
That'd
I'll
be
come back
great.
and say sponsor.
Actually,
Right?
yeah. We love Duolingo around here.
As amazing a platform as it is,
Mhm.
and I have kind of an obscene streak on Duolingo because I might be obsessed.
Okay,
I
you
rage
can't
quit.
just say that and not brag about it. You need to tell us now.
I'm over 1350
Days.
days, yes.
Days.
Yeah.
How many days did I
freezes have
make?
you
40?
used?
I don't know. How
40.
many?
Freezes have you used?
In the time that I've been doing it, maybe 3?
Are you serious?
Yeah, I do it pretty much every day.
Ugh.
No, I actually pretty much do it every day.
Mhm.
I will say this. I have noticed it is an amazing platform to reinforce knowledge that you already have a little bit of. It's good for learning enough to be able to travel, but as far
And
as...
so is Spanish 1 and 2 in general.
Right. I do feel like it's a platform that needs a little bit of supplementing.
So something
For-
like this, like the Destinos
Exactly.
textbook
Or,
the telenovelas,
you know, if you're
would be fun.
doing Japanese as your language,
Mhm.
a subscription to Crunchyroll and, you know, English subtitles and
Mhm.
listen to that in Japanese.
I learned
Yeah.
Japanese from anime.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's...
So did Miss Jordan. Absolutely.
I mean, that's actually
Mhm.
the way a lot of people learn Japanese is through
Mhm.
anime.
I mean, that's how my Dominican next door neighbor learned English, watching Sesame Street.
Now, understand that a platform like that needs to be very heavily vet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's that content, especially given depending on the age of your student, might not be appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
So just make sure that you know what they're watching. But that goes
Oh,
true.
yeah.
That's true for anything.
Mhm.
So that's the end of your
Yeah.
list. So
I have one left.
that's more
This
cheese.
used to be free. So the things that my favorite resources that are older than dirt. My tongue doesn't work today. My favorite resources that are older than dirt. A lot of them are now behind paywalls. But this paywall was reasonable. edhelper.com has free worksheets.
Well, free once you pay the subscription fee.
They used to be free.
Right.
And you know, math worksheets if you want to quiz on math, you want to quiz on whatever. And now it's $40 a year or $70 for 3 years. I thought that was fair.
That's fair.
So I threw it in there.
Right.
But like if you just need worksheets with the answers already, you know, attached with the answer sheet to go with it, this is definitely where you go. And I definitely use that all of my children's homeschool career.
Well, if you're looking for worksheets and you're looking for things with answers, but you want kind of a more a la carte method, Teachers Pay Teachers.
Yeah, teachers
Has
pay
some of those.
teachers.
It can be hard
It's
to-
real super expensive real
It
fast.
can.
Mm-hmm.
There are some free resources on there.
There are.
And
There are.
you know, depending on what you need or what you're looking for, that
Mhm.
can be a good resource too.
I think when Teachers Pay Teachers started, everybody was in there buying each other stuff, and now people are just in there searching for the free.
That's fair.
the free stuff, which isn't as in depth as the paid stuff.
Right.
But if you get used to someone's free stuff, eventually you'll buy some of their paid stuff, I guess.
True.
But
Maybe.
yeah, so those are the homeschool resources, tried and true, that I've been using since 2003. Yeah, all of these. And Mir's given you some, and
Well,
we
there are other things.
Oh, we're not done? Okay.
We're not done.
Okay.
We're not done. Because you did not mention Khan Academy.
I didn't because I assumed you were gonna.
So Khan Academy is a free resource. It's kind of gone through some cycles
Yeah.
about being an amazing resource, about being a little harder to use. It's back to being easy to use. So
It started out so cool because this guy, Salman Khan, was literally just teaching his younger cousins how to do math online from a closet in his house. So if you listen to the old videos, he's talking really quiet like this. You don't know what's happening. It's because he was in the closet recording them quietly. And then everyone started watching them.
Right.
And then he created this web of how all the different maths were overlapping and
work
stuff.
together. Yeah.
And it was
Interconnected.
beautiful because back then you could just start teaching and they would flow out of elementary math into geometry, into algebra, and how they were all interconnected. And then funders got hold of it and they broke it. But it's coming back together again nicely. And honestly, it's an amazing resource for test prep.
yes, it's an amazing resource for test prep because now it's aligned with the College Board. So you can actually connect your College Board account once you get to the point where you're doing the SAT or anything like that. So you can actually connect your two accounts and it'll look at your test and customize your SAT prep in the system is what it's supposed to do. So
That's amazing. I mean, do I miss the way that it flowed from math to math? Absolutely. Well, high school juniors and seniors do very well to use this. Absolutely.
And if you need a course where you really need to track that progress, for instance, getting Algebra 2 out of my oldest child we kind of went round and round and round about whether we were going to even do that. But now the tracking to mastery in each unit and being able to see that, it just displays it visually really nicely. So you know where a student is. The frustrating thing about it is because it's responsive education, it's going to go back and drill things that students might not be very comfortable with, so they may get sick of seeing the same thing over and over again. Well, I mean, the answer is to do that correctly, but
I love the grammar. They have language arts, I think, elementary through like whatever. I skip right past that and just have kids do the grammar. That lets me know what grammar they know and what grammar they need work on. And most kids can test through. Any kid who's done their work through 9th grade can go ahead and just pass the grammar and get that grammar. I usually pair that grammar with a few literature books for 9th grade, and then that's 9th grade language arts. What else do I love? The science is fun. When we were doing science bowl teams, the science was fun for drilling.
Right.
It's just kind of cool. Like it for parents who need free curriculum. I love Khan Academy. The thing is, it seems like it's plug and play, and if you just tell a kid go do this, they're gonna game it.
Yeah. Well, they're gonna game it, but then also because especially when we're dealing in specifically math and I guess science too to some extent. It's going to explain concepts the way that it wants you to do the concepts. And one of the things about the freedom of homeschooling is being able to do things the way that makes sense to you. There are parts of math where my youngest child, openly revolted because is why do you need to do it this way when I could be doing it this way? And sometimes the videos didn't make sense to him.
It's not the best for struggling math learners.
Right.
It is really good for advanced math learners, but we've even had advanced math learners try to game it as in, oh no, I got one wrong, I'm just going to come out and start over again.
Right.
And they end up spinning their wheels. So look, I'm going to say this for Khan Academy, I'm going to say this for any curriculum at all that you use. You have to monitor your kids.
Right.
Period. But it's strong. Like if you're on a budget, Khan Academy is super strong. It'll get them everything they need to graduate.
Right.
And you'll be able to have a paper trail.
Right. You may need for some concepts, especially if your learner is struggling and if the videos that are accompany the lessons aren't explaining it, you may need to go Google somebody who explains it in a different way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I tell the kids all the time, I'm like, do this subject. And they're like, yeah, I didn't get it. I'm like, okay, take that title, plug it into YouTube, and listen to someone else say the same thing.
Right.
And they're like, got it. So Khan Academy is amazing if your kids are advanced. If they're not advanced, and even if they are, I like to see parental guidance with that. What else?
So other resources, a lot of what we've talked about so far has been something that you can find online, right?
Yes.
Get familiar with your community. There's so many resources out there for homeschooling, just out in the community. If you happen to be anywhere near a university, especially a state-run university, almost all of those libraries are open to the public. You might not have borrowing rights, but you can usually go in and read what they have and introduce your kids to what a research library looks like, as opposed to, your public library is great. In fact, public libraries are often an amazing resource, especially because if they're anything like the libraries around here, they consistently do different programming and different educational things. So you might have something where they, bring out animals. You might have something where they're celebrating a particular type of culture or holiday, and there are educational things that go along with that. So check into your public libraries, check into your local universities if you happen to live near one of those. Check into your local museums. A lot of them have educational programs. Your Parks and Rec system may have educational programs.
They have so many classes, especially in the summer,
classes.
like archery, animal stuff, labs. It's there.
Right. And I'm speaking from our experience. I do know that because of the metro area that we're in and because of where we are, there is a wealth of resources that might not be available to everyone.
If you live near a metro area, you're gonna find.
There will be things.
Yeah.
Also look into professional societies. Like if your child has a specific interest, there's usually some kind of professional society that may also have an educational program. For instance, one that we've used around here is the Georgia Geological Society. They have, over the years, off and on done educational programming geared specifically toward children. And so you can, and even if they're not geared specifically toward children, then usually once a month there's something, they'll have a fossil section or a sand section or a rocks and minerals section, just depending on.
We have a history society not too far from here. It's not super close, but it's not too far from here that does a lot of reenactments. How did you get into the birding thing?
Oh, falconry. There's the Georgia Falconry Association. So, and again, these different associations that are out there, and you can go learn about the different things. There was another one.
Bonsai?
Yes. Yep, we do a lot of things, and so which then kind of segues into another thing that you might want to be aware of. The major flagship universities here in the state has extension offices all over the state, and so they deal with native plant species, they deal with master gardening, all kinds of things like that. So there are programs that kind of go beyond where something might be. But then also, again, this kind of is tied to being part of a major metro area, but you also then have conventions that come through.
Right.
And you mentioned the Atlanta Bonsai Society, which also does have educational events that's kind of specialized. I think you learn some tree and forestry stuff, but in a very specialized way. That being said, they are one of the key components to an annual festival here called Japan Fest.
Love it.
And you can go and we can take the kids and they can see different types of traditional Japanese dances. There are different types of traditional Japanese theater, Japanese drumming. There's the Atlanta Sumo Society comes and does demonstrations with it. There's a ninjutsu group that comes and does an educational component for their art. And so there's all kinds of different, in one weekend you're exposed to so many different kinds of things. So seasonal convention kind of things can be a good resource depending on where you are and what's available to you.
Just want to come back around to museums real fast.
Right.
I just went to Tennessee and went to the aquarium. All of your major state museums are going to have reciprocal memberships.
Right.
So you go ahead and you get memberships to your local museum, and then you can get into any museum. Jordan does that with aquariums. You can do it with the science museums.
Right.
Museums like the Fern Bank actually have weekend science programs for kids. I know some kids, Marshall, who just did all their science through the local museums. And so, like Miss Mir said, explore your community. The best way to explore your community, to know about what's available in your community, is to speak with other homeschoolers.
Yep. And that's a lot of these museums that have these educational programs often are going to have like a PDF that you can print out, so you can have like actual documentation. This is what we did.
You can have little passbooks and things like that.
Right. They have printed materials and things that, or websites that go along with the experience to enrich the education, usually, as well as, being there and doing the hands-on.
Those are just some of the resources that we could think of.
Right.
I'm sure if you pin us down, there's more. There may be a follow-up video or 2 or 3 to this one as we come up with some things that are maybe more specific and things of that nature. Everything that we said will be linked. What?
No, I remembered another resource. But you know what? We can talk about that next time.
Okay.
Because we are going to come back and we're going to do a video very soon about how you teach history and how you teach researching. Because that critical thinking skill is so very important. And we'll talk about one of my favorite resources for that.
Cool beans.
That time.
All right. So everything we said, we would do our best to get it into the description of this video, and we hope that you have fun with it.
And if you have questions or we love to hear about your resources.
Please.
So you can mention that in the comments. And if you have questions about something specific, because like I said, this is just what came out of our heads right now. And so there might be more resources that we have if you ask us a specific question. Maybe point you in a direction. Until next time.